Um, I'm just jumping in, man. We had like a really deep pre-show meeting, screen shaking. I'm the king of mispronouncing people's names. I'm pretty sure I can say your name, but why don't you introduce yourself so we don't start off on a messed up foot where I just say your name all wrong and we have to giggle.
Um, well, my name is Shawn McCalman, but I've heard every pronunciation you could think of, so I wouldn't even take it. I wouldn't even be offended.
Okay. Well, you wouldn't even give it time of day. Uh, love the fight. I think very underrated performance. I think Money Powell is an outstanding fighter. I think people are underrating where he's going to go. I love the fact that both of you two got in and did the dance. You know, this is how you build great fighters as you go in and you test yourself. And I'm very impressed with you right now that you were willing to take a fight that's kind of like a high risk, low reward fight to get your career moving. I feel like this is what gets people big opportunities. I know it's not really a question, it's more of a statement, but I just want to kind of throw that out there.
Oh well, first of all, thank you, and yeah, that's what I'm about, man. Honestly, I didn't get into this to like take things slowly or to look for the easy way, easy route to the top, or you know, like look for any shortcuts. I became a fighter with the expectation that things would be tough. This is a tough sport by nature. The job is fighting, so I don't see like an easy way to make it to the top or an easy way to quote unquote be a great fighter. These are kind of the for me it's like the norm. It's like a standard. um to take tough fights or to to challenge yourself. That's just, like I said, that's just what I'm about in general. So yeah,
I
thanks
was
again.
telling my buddy the other day, the minute a fighter starts turning down fights, their career is basically over because you got to kind of have that irrational confidence to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, like if you're going to be a fighter by nature, you should have, like you said, rational confidence. And yeah, if you really want to make something of yourself, you're gonna have to take risks. Like like I said, there's no easy route to the top, or there's no easy route to being a great fighter. Like there's no way that you'll be remembered if all you did was take, low level fights and have a padded record, or you have 50 fights and you're undefeated, but nobody can name any of the guys that you fought.
Yeah, a bunch of O and something. Like it looks like a math equation when you add it
Yeah.
up, but it's the wrong way, the frowny face record. Give me a little bit of your background in Taekwondo. Is that what kind of gives you kind of this patience and this awkward style at times that we saw last Friday night?
I mean, it could. My Taekwondo background is really it's that was the first sport I had ever participated in before football, before anything. So, um, like I said, my combat sports background, I guess, like I said, I always tell people it just comes natural to me. Like fighting itself is just a natural thing for me. Um, I guess that could have some bearing on my style. I think it's more so just my personality that has a heavier influence on my style. I'm very like laid back. Um, I don't say a lot, but I'm thinker. So like I guess that's more of my it's more my personality that I take into the ring with me. Like my true self is who I fight as.
Yeah, you strike me as like a cerebral surfer. If I was gonna typecast you, like a laid back guy that's got because like people think of surfers and they're like, man, these guys are so chill, but there's like a level of intensity. You're going out into water and you're basically wearing an object that looks like what sharks want to eat. So like
Right.
most surfers, there's like this crazy dark side that no one ever gets. And I think it's because pretty much their passion is extreme danger.
Exactly. It's funny you say that passion is extreme danger. For me, yeah, like that's exactly that's exactly what keeps me coming back is like that adrenaline rush and like that satisfaction of putting yourself in dangerous situations and coming out on top of them. That's exactly what I do it for.
Okay, great. That's we're going somewhere. It's
Yeah.
always bad when I'm not when you hit the microphone. Um next thing, sparred Berlanga. You know, I remember I saw Berlanga in 2019 in the gym. So the Berlanga I saw was before Berlanga Mania with the
Mhm.
bubble. But I mean, what's that experience like? Because I mean, I think I don't want to speak for you, but sometimes it's interesting to be like, wow, these people do exist. They are human beings, as opposed to the smoke and mirrors and the big show on television. What was getting the rounds with Berlanga like?
Um, how can I say this? I'm trying to stay political or
Let me help
politically.
you. Let me help you right here. So our Uncle Lukie will answer the question for you. It probably gave you a good experience moving forward and seeing what a high level of the sport is like. It probably helped you know where you stand in the sport and gave you greater confidence to know that you could probably succeed at the highest level of the sport currently, and gave you a boost to probably have a performance like you did this past weekend. Does that sound like maybe what you were thinking about?
Yeah, in some respects, but I will say that even before, like I've been working with high level guys, so it wasn't like that one experience gave me like this
Let's
epiphany
skip
or
over
like
to Crawford. Let's not get in trouble. Let's go to Crawford because it feels like you're walking on thin ice. So let's go to Crawford.
a
I
little
think
bit.
there's less thin ice to walk on Crawford because he's a generational Hall of Fame all-time great guy. You sparred him. How did that go?
I never actually sparred him, so that let me just clarify. So
Okay.
I've known him and his team for years. You know, like they've Colorado has been like a staple for them when it's time to go to training camp. They've always spent some amount of time in Colorado. So through the years I've just gotten to know him, and I've got to be around him and watch him train, and then I've sparred with like the various guys that he brought in and out of camp. Um that he just has like kind of tag along with him when he's in camp.
Little
um
Steve Nelson action, maybe.
yeah, him, Jared Hurd, Troy Isley, yeah, lots of guys, like more than I could really sit here and name. But plenty of high level work, plenty, like I said, high level work is not something that I'm not accustomed to, or like, that is a new thing for me. So even with, like I said, with the Berlanga camp, like that didn't necessarily give me like a boost in confidence or anything like that, just because I've been working with guys that are perceived to be at the highest level and guys who are projected to be at the highest level, for years now. So this is like something that it's just like normal for me.
What I'm hearing is you do this. That's what I'm
Exactly.
hearing. It's like
Yeah.
if you give me a piece of paper and say write something, I don't really care if it's the so and so best writer or not. I'm in the ballpark with them. I know
Exactly.
where I stand. And that's what I'm hearing is if there's elite work, you're like, let me be in that building. That's where I
Exactly. Yeah. Like I want to be wherever they like, I've always been that way. Like if there's a challenge to be had, or if there's like a mountain to climb, like I'm the first one volunteering, to go climb that mountain, or I'm volunteering myself, because like I said, I got into this to challenge myself, like even from the fights, from a perspective of the fights. Like I'm the type of person where, like, even with the Money Powell fight, for example, as soon as it was offered to me, I immediately accepted. Like I was out of the ring for my fight June 24th, and as soon as my management offered me the Money Power fight, I want to say I signed the contract for that fight 2 days after I, just finished my fight June 24th. So, or even like when I fought Vaughn Alexander, immediately, like as soon as it was offered to me, there was no thinking about it. It was just a yes. Or even when I fought Marquise Moore, the 10-0 guy I fought, he was projected to be someone who would be at the top, coming out of the amateurs. As soon as that was offered to me, it was yes. Like I've never shied away from a challenge.
yeah, I mean, you got the mindset of a fighter, right? Because you can't. I think the Vaughn Alexander one's very impressive because Vaughn's made a career out of just coming in and beating up guys that are supposed to be good. So,
Right.
like a lot of guys in your position, you're like, I got a nice shiny record. Is there someone with a more desirable record than this madman that's going to train really hard, but he kind of has a bad record at this point?
Well, yeah, but like you said, he's made a career out of, if you're not who you say you are as a prospect, or if you're not who you say you are as a potential contender, he will beat you. And I knew that going into the fight. Like I said, like my disposition, like I call myself, I'm a self-proclaimed nerd, like in the sense that I spend all my time, looking through the rankings on BoxRec, a weight class above and a weight class down. Just,
You and me. Only I don't fight. I just look at the points. I look at who's relevant.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm always in the gym. I'm always doing research. I'm always watching films. So for me, like boxing really it's my life for me and my family. Like they asked me down in Atlanta, to describe like what my career is, and I said like boxing is life. I know it sounds like a cliche, but like it's literally life for me and my family. So this is what I spend a lot of time doing, researching, and just trying to find ways to be better at, or be the best I can be at. So um yeah, to tie that back into what I was saying, yeah, like going into the fight, I knew the reputation he carried. I knew the risk involved, and I was dove head first.
Well, I'm impressed with it because Money Powell's always been a great guy to me, and I'm always so boring because I get to know the fighters, and like I like both fighters. Like I'll be kind of political, but it's not in the sense of I understand this is competition, and I'm not going to condemn a guy for losing. I'm not going to condemn you if you lose. I just want to see great competition. I've been in the game so long, kind of burn out to an extent where I don't look at people and say, "Oh my god, he lost one fight." He doesn't. It's like, no, you can have 5 losses, and after your fifth loss, it makes sense. You grow as a person, maturity can happen. But
Mm-hmm.
for you to come in as an underdog against a guy who had a great amateur background, someone that had was perceived as someone that had world championship ambitions, that's a big mental hurdle as much as a physical hurdle. And I saw you face adversity in this fight, bro. I saw moments that didn't go your way where you could have made a decision to check out, but you didn't. And that impresses me because there's a lot of guys who can't handle the mental buildup before, and they can't handle the steps that you fought through in this fight.
Um, I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's plenty of people who can't handle yeah, like I said, even like the pressure of like a fight week. That was my first time ever, going out early for a fight. The earliest I'd ever, most times I'd ever gone out for a fight was day before the weigh-ins. Um, because I'm either buried on the undercard, or like the card itself just isn't a big enough card to draw any kind of need for media obligations or shoots or interviews or any of that. So yeah, I mean, I dealt with a lot, but I was able to compartmentalize it as, I'm the co-main event. I obviously I belong here. So, like all the things that I had to deal with going into the fight, being near the weight, and still having to get up and do tours of the arena and do photo shoots and interviews and video shoots and promo and all that. I just look at it like, these are like steps that I'm taking on my path, like to greatness. If I'm going to be somebody that the public cares about, these are kind of the things that, I could imagine that Terence Crawford and Errol Spence probably had to do the same thing, or any high level guy has to go through the same thing. So why would it be any different for me?
Terence Crawford is a good spirit animal because he was buried on undercards and people didn't like his team always believed in him. But if you look at who was being promoted, he was like the third or fourth guy. He was
Yeah.
not viewed as, oh man, this is a can't miss prospect. This is, hey, we see talent. Maybe it'll work out.
Yeah, and I feel like I parallel that same story almost to the T, coming from a place that's not a boxing hotbed and that doesn't have a lot of history behind it as far as like world champions, or like, of course we've had our champions from here, we've had our notable names from here, but nobody can really say that we have like a ingrained, like boxing is, when you think of our state, you think of boxing, or when you think of Denver, you think of, you might think of a couple guys, but there's not just one guy that you're like, no, this was the guy. You know, it's the same thing. Nebraska. I'm sure it's the same way. Like outside of Terence Crawford, I really can't name anybody that came from where he's from and has reached the heights that he has. So I definitely look at his story as motivation, and it's funny that I've got to spend so much time around somebody that I feel like my story parallels so closely.
I think that life has a way of doing that. The
Yeah.
people that you're supposed to meet, if you like, it sounds like you've consistently made good decisions in life at a certain point. And it's weird how when you constantly do the right thing, you kind of get put around the right people. The people you should be around somehow fall into your life. The people that give you inspiration somehow are the ones that now you see that you're training next to. It's just weird how oddly that seems like a coincidence for a lot of successful people in life.
Yeah, I definitely can say that. I can definitely speak to meeting the right people at the right time. Like, so even the team that I built around myself, like it all happened organically. I, it wasn't like, hey, put a piece of paper in front of, someone's face to sign a contract with them and negotiate percentages in order to work with them. Every part of my career and everybody that I've come across and have worked with that I've really like gelled with, it's just happened organically. And those happen to be the people who are able to get the most out of me.
Well, I see you're working with Fighters First, Jolene, and my guy AC, Main Events Boxing, which more people need to put respect on the name of Main Events Boxing. They put on some fantastic shows when
No,
I was young, which sadly is a while ago now because I'm bald and not young. But you have a real team, bro. You got a team that's created world champions. So I mean, how did that come together? Did you spar somebody and they said, "Oh God, this guy can fight"? Like, what's the deal?
well, funny story. So again, like I really believe in the well, like you said, if you're doing the right things and you're making the right decisions, things just happen organically. Like I was actually at the gym, at another gym with my wife when I got the a message from this guy, Joe Rotunda. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Or can I cuss?
You can do whatever you want, bro.
Okay.
This is a
So I'm
feel
like,
like it. Let me just set a caveat. If it's boxing, I don't think there's a professional standard for boxing when it comes to media or even boxing. It's kind of, I don't want to say ghetto, but it's kind of like the Wild West. It's kind of
yeah,
get in where you fit in. You can try to be professional, but you're going to look like a goofball. This is survival of the fittest. This is who can outlast people. So you just do whatever you want. We gotta just outlast people.
fair enough. Okay, so yeah, okay. Well, with that being said, so I look at my phone. I'm like, who the fuck is this Joe Rotunda guy? He's like, hey, would you be interested in coming to LA to work with Sergey Kovalev for a week? So I'm like, I go to his Facebook profile immediately because I'm thinking like, there's no way this is real. Um, his Facebook profile checks out. I do a little research on him and come to find out he's like in that main event. So I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. So this is legit. And like I said, I was at the gym with my wife at the time, getting ready to do another workout. And yeah, so I'm like, of course I would. Like I jump on the opportunity immediately. This was maybe I want to say 2 years ago, around like the summertime. But yeah,
So
so
like
he's
the
like,
Kovalev Triller card that happened a
yeah,
couple of years ago, probably.
yeah, when he was getting ready for his debut at cruiserweight. So I'm like, yeah, oh hell yeah, of course I would. I would love to. So I immediately jump on the opportunity. It's I want to say it was a Friday when he sent me the message. I had a day to get myself, get my son, get my wife, and everything together, make our travel arrangements because they went with me. And yeah, I was on a plane by Sunday, and by Monday we were working. We spent that week working. We worked Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I want to say we did about somewhere close to like 20, 25 rounds. And yeah, somewhere along the line, I impressed enough to get a call back from him. And yeah, we started to have conversation and things just kind of, like I said, the ball got rolling and things just happened organically. But again, like if I didn't have a fight or anything coming up at the time, but I was just in the gym training just because, like I said, this is my life. So, I was able to take advantage of the opportunity. And if I wasn't, then, who knows where I'd be right now. Probably wouldn't even be boxing anymore right now.
The Dre commandments, always stay in the gym. That's one of
Mm-hmm.
those things to live by. What was it like being around Buddy McGirt, one of the best storytellers in boxing? Always gives a great quotable, always has something notable to say. What was that experience like?
It was great. I mean, like you said, he's got a great sense of humor. He's like a very down to earth guy, so I definitely enjoyed my time being around him. I got to talk to him a little bit just because he asked me where I was from. I told him I was from Colorado. Obviously, he had worked with Stevie Johnston for a time towards the end of his career, and yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, like I said, it was very organic. I was there to work, so we didn't like get to sit down and have very many like deep conversations. We rode back from the gym to the hotels and Ubers together and things like that. So, we got to talk a little bit. I got to see a little bit more of his personality, but I had a great time. It was a great experience. I'm very happy I took advantage of it.
I mean, Buddy for me gave me probably like one of my best videos I ever made. I was there to film a prospect, and it's like prospect filming videos are very standard because no one really follows the prospect besides their family in the local market, hopefully. And you film them train and whatever. And I get Buddy McGirt, here's famous coach, and he gives this deep speech about how when boxing's over, it's really over, and you have to have. I was like, wow, Buddy, you just kind of came through to make this video way more interesting than I
Mm.
think most people would have expected. But it was like, it was really impressive because it kind of shows his level of professionalism and how experienced he is, that even when a small market guy comes and here's what I'm looking for, made it into something grandiose. And that's like something that the Don Kings, the Buddy McGirts, the Bob Abrams, the really name anyone at the top of this sport, they have an ability to sell things at a very high level. It's not just teaching. It's like being at the highest level is there's a level of entertainment you can only know if you've been at the highest level of the sport.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, we didn't talk too much, but from the little tidbits I did get here and there, I mean, obviously the guy is like a vast well of knowledge, like about the sport, the ins and outs of what to expect, like just as a man pursuing greatness, and yeah, just everything that comes along with the life of a fighter. I mean, you could tell that, he knows it all, forward, backwards, inside and outside.
Enough of these people that don't really matter to you. What's your team? What's your unit? Let's talk about you. What's your squad?
So right now it's just myself, my trainer Rolando Lopez, and my strength and conditioning guy Keontae Edwards, and yeah, like it's us three, and we work great together. Like I said, these guys know how to get the most out of me. They hold me to a very high standard. They kick my ass on the daily just to make sure that there's no stones unturned. I'm not getting in the ring unprepared in any form or fashion, and yeah, we work great together. We get the job done, and I think I've been with my coach. So this is my second coach I've had as a professional. I've been with him for, I want to say, about five, no, going on 5 years now. And my strength guy, he's a relatively like new addition. I've been with him for about a year, but yeah, like I said, we make a great team and we get the job done together.
So for Rolando, like what's his background? I'm a big coach guy. Like for these people that are looking, like just kind of what would you say is something interesting about him? Because people often, if it's not some big famous coach, they don't want to talk about him. Deserves a little mention on here. Let's make his family proud.
Well, from his own personal life, this is a man I can definitely say that I have a huge amount of respect for, just because of the things that he's been through in his own personal life. He's from Nicaragua, and he actually was able to escape during the Iran Contra um the Contra affair. Like he was in a country that was in turmoil, and he had to do certain things that I'm sure he probably wouldn't want to talk about, or he had to go through things that I'm sure he doesn't want to have to relive. But he's been through some wild shit in order to, just to make it to the US. And yeah, he's got a crazy story. This man went from, like I said, being a rebel fighter in the jungles of Nicaragua to a semi-professional baseball player in Costa Rica to now a professional boxing coach in the US. Yeah, I hold a lot of respect for him just because of his life story and what he's gone through to, like I said, make it to where he's at now.
I somehow hit a button where apps came up on my Zoom. Okay, we fixed it. That was incredible. It sounds like that's going to be an amazing pre-fight video one day. The relationship between your coach's story, but really the bond you two are building. over this course of you getting to wherever you're going?
Yeah, this is. I mean, the man's like family. I mean, he came to my baby shower for my son. Like we hang out on the weekends and watch fights together. We have fight parties together. We watch fights. Yeah, he's somebody I can like depend on. My son calls him Theo, which in Spanish just means uncle. But my son like looks at him like a genuine family member. Like everybody in my family loves him. Same thing with my strength coach. I mean, my son calls him uncle too. Like we're a very tight knit group. They're very protective of me. Funny story. So just to get off track real quick. So while we were doing the video shoots, the promo shoots for this the Money Powell fight, we go into this like dark room. They have the backdrop set up and all that, and they spray me down with the water, and they're spraying like this mist in the air to like give like this ambiance for the promo shoot. And my coach, he's off to the side. He's looking kind of, he's sitting there with his hand on his chin, kind of looking like a little confused. So after we get done, he comes up to the guy spraying the stuff in the air. He's like, "Hey, what is that?" Like, he's like, "What are you spraying in my fighter's face? Like, what are you, like, what, you got this guy breathing in this shit. What is it?" So he takes the can out of the guy's hand and he's looking over, reading the back of it, making sure that it's safe for me and all that. So just to give you an idea of, how they, the lengths they're willing to go to make sure that I'm always safe. I'm always good. Like this, like I said, this is an organic, like, team as well as a family.
I mean, that's the kind of person you need in boxing, because I feel like boxing has some weird situation. I remember once I saw a fighter shake someone's hand, and a cut man went up to the fighter and goes, "Do you know him? He could try to break your hand. Never shake a person's hand before a fight." And it's
Mm-hmm.
like there's all these weird, like, kind of the OGs of this sport have all these things where they're extremely paranoid because they've seen the evils of boxing.
Right. And they look at us like not so much in a like malicious way, but they look at us like the like golden gooses. When you find a good fighter, you find a good thing. Or when you find a fighter who you really feel like has potential to be successful, you find a good thing. It's like an investment that they're making. People don't give trainers like mine the credit that they deserve. Like a lot of guys, they build up a record to like me, like a 14-0, a 15-0, and then they dump their guy to go be with one of the big, quote unquote, big name guys, instead of sticking with, the people that, help them, really truly help to mold them along the way. And yeah, they go wrong. That's where they go wrong, is you're not, you're going from somebody who treated you like family to somebody who treats you like a business partner. And those are very different relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we see that all the time, and that's how people get bitter in the sport of boxing, right? Like you
Right.
see the great boxing coach. I can think of a couple in my local area where everyone goes, "Oh man, he should have been on TV. He's taught like 4 generations of national champions," but at a certain point, guys leave, or maybe he makes people spar too much or too hard on people. And then all of a sudden, that the thing I had always heard was the greatest boxing coaches, you'd never hear from them, because for one
Exactly.
reason or another, they're just going to be stuck in a small town and things never break out. And it's not always the most famous coaches that were the best ones.
Right. And a lot of times, some of the most famous coaches were guys who were famous fighters, so they kind of piggyback that into a training, into a training career. So yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. A lot of times, the best, I mean, even the best talent, even best, some of the best fighters are guys that we've never heard of and never will never see the light of day. But I guess that's just the nature of the sport and the nature of life.
Give me a good gym story, bro. Shoot with me straight. Give me a gym story before you leave.
Hmm. I can't even off the top of my head. I can't. It take me a while to think of anything, just because I'm very isolated. I train by myself a lot of the time, other than on my sparring days. But let me think. And
Now that
again, like,
now that you say that, I hope you train with no music. That just make gives me like a great, like, sinister feel of like this super nerd training with no music, all by himself, like box rec queued up on like a big computer, like Batman's Bat Cave, and you're just looking at the
Yeah,
rankings, you
some
know?
days, yeah, I definitely come in the gym some days and don't want to hear anything but bad hit me hitting the bag, or I don't want to hear anything other than the mitts cracking. But yeah, I honestly can't say I have any interesting gym stories that I can tell you. At least I have some interesting gym stories, but maybe I'll save them for like a book or a documentary or something.
Oh,
Unfortunately.
okay. Or maybe later down the road, maybe we'll soften you up and then get you there. What do you want from boxing? Like when it's all said and done, what really do you think you're chasing with this dream?
Well, initially, well, I'll answer that in two parts. Initially, it started for me as just something that I wanted to pursue, just because I like I said, I knew I wasn't going back to college. I knew I wasn't going to be playing football anymore. So it started for me as something that I just kind of blindly and passionately was following. And then as I really started to um, like progress and like hit that learning curve, it became more of like a something that was fulfilling just from like a competitive aspect. And now it's fulfilling for me from the competitive aspect, but also from the standpoint of like provision for my family. Now that I have a family, a nuclear family, is important for me to be able to provide for them too. So it's a twofold thing, like the competition and the drive to be great and become a world champion, obviously. But at the same time, yeah, it's like it's my job now. I look at it also like a job. I enjoy it, I love it, but it's my job now. So it's yeah, it's a twofold thing for me now.
Okay. Final thing, and then I'll let you go because I only have the free version of Zoom and you don't have to just sit on here. And I think I also have to go pick up my car. I'm getting my car fixed right now. So I think they're going to want me to show up. Um, when you played football, what position? Little football guy, myself, they told me to go north and south, not east and west. If you pick up what I'm saying when I was on the football field, uh, I
Yeah.
think you understand that some of the listeners might not. Um, what were like the aspects that brought you into football, and like what positions did you excel at?
So I played. I was a two-way starter. I played quarterback, and I started. I was a starting quarterback, and I was starting safety as well. So I played on both sides. My uh, naturally for me, defense was always my thing. Like that's what I preferred. I loved hitting and hurting people. But at the same time, yeah, like I was the most reliable guy that at the quarterback position. So I also played that as well. So I had a lot of responsibility on both sides. So like maybe like I said, also that might have a bearing on my style in the ring. They were actually, it's funny enough, they kind of pointed to that on the telecast, on the DAZN telecast during the fight. The whole idea of being cerebral. Quarterbacks have to remember the plays, and they have to remember everyone's responsibilities and where they're going to be at this time and where they need to be at this time. And there's a lot to think about as a quarterback. It's not as simple as just going out there and laying the wood on somebody. So yeah, quarterback and safety.
Feel like the hardest part about quarterback is reading the blitzes, and no one ever gives quarterbacks like credit for that. But the difference between a good NFL quarterback and a bad one is simply, can you tell where the blitz is coming from most of the time?
Yeah, yeah. Knowing where your blind spots are, who's not reliable on that front line. So I know I need to be looking at this side when the ball gets hiked, just in case somebody coming clear takes my fucking head off from behind or whatever. But yeah, like I said, I think plays a big role in, like I said, the style that I fight, and like the my approach to breaking a fighter down during the fights.
I just think you're interesting, bro. I think you're interesting. I think you're a great interview. I think that people should get behind you, follow you on all social media platforms. You seem like you're taking this extremely serious. I always encourage fans of my program to get behind emerging United States fighters because we got to get behind our own. Britain, there's guys 5-0 and they're filling up arenas. We got to get behind our own fighters. Where can people follow you and all that stuff? Maybe we can get you 2 or 3 subscribers to whatever stuff you got going.
Um, I'm everywhere. If you search Shawn McCalman on Facebook, Sean M, at Sean M 5280 on Twitter, and at theamazing.sm on Instagram. That's TheAmazing on Instagram. That's where I'm most active, or you can catch most of my updates. So I would suggest you guys go hit me on Instagram.
Okay. And is that a Spider-Man reference, or am I just dated
Yeah,
where okay, because I just assume
yeah.
the amazing is Spider-Man.
Yeah, actually, yeah, the amazing.sm, Sean McCalman, Spider Man, kind of got some parallels there. Even if you look at my logo, it even has a little bit of influence in there.
Don't get sued now. It's got it's
No,
got it's got it's got influence, but it's not a direct representation.
yeah,
That's what we
not at
want to
all.
say.
We don't want that cease and desist letter coming in the mail.
Yeah, especially after you sell a lot of them. That's no good for nobody. Well, Sean, I appreciate you picking me up on this great day. I wish you nothing but success, and I just hope you find what you're looking for in this sport. I hope that no matter what happens, you feel accomplished with your time spent during these times.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely appreciate the opportunity to come on here and get to know you, and tap into your fan base a little bit, and yeah, we'll see where things go from here. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll
I
be
mean,
back and talk about my next big accomplishment. We'll see.
well, I mean, this is an impressive win. Money's a great fighter. Money's a great person, and you've got 3 legitimate wins very early in your career. And there's a lot of guys at or around your weight that don't even have one. So, I mean, I think that this is something where if you really enjoy boxing, right, and that there's 2 types of people that like boxing. There's the people that like entertainment, big shows, all of that. But if you just like boxing and achievement, I think you're someone that the world needs to start watching because you're showing that you're willing to put it on the line, and it's up to the world for some of these bigger fights to get made. But I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you. Thanks again. Yeah, exactly that. Like I said, anybody who is a fan of the sport and a fan of fighters who are not afraid to take risks, not afraid to put themselves in big fights, not afraid to challenge themselves, and I'm your guy. I mean, like, I'm a humble guy. I'm quiet for the most part, but yeah, when it comes to this boxing thing, I got an ego the size of Texas.
I mean, and then we got to go because of the Zoom, but it's like you got to be right. You can't. I always told people if someone's sparring, oh, I don't want to spar with this guy. He might be too tough. It's like, well, being an accountant isn't a bad career. It's
Right.
like you just got if there's any bit of fear or doubt, this just ain't for you, bro.
100%.
There we go. Okay. Talk to you soon.